And today we will see the structure and components of the scientific reports. So whenever we are writing the scientific reports, this is the common structure that we see. So initially they are going to introduce whatever the topic that they are doing. So in the introduction, they will be giving the what is the statement of the problem and what are the objectives of that particular work, and statement of the research questions and statement of some research hypothesis and research background. So that means it depends on you how you are going to take it, because this is the generic model that they have given. So some people, they may not write all the properties. They may not give some research questions, because those who are working in a sociology and that kind of department, they may be looking at the in between itself. They are going to give some kind of questionnaire type, and then they are going to proceed in the introduction itself. And we are going to give the literature review. So in the literature review, as we already know, we have to plan what is the outline and what is the context of that we are going to present here, and also we need to we have to relate our research work with the already existing work. Suppose how you are going to relate. Let me take one example. Like, see, if suppose I am working on some kind of model like artificial aircrafts, artificial like robot for the food processing. So now what we have to see, initially I think artificial robot. So now whenever we are writing the literature review, so most of the time we used to neglect the related work, and then we used to highlight, we have done the first time, that way we used to highlight. But whatever, suppose artificial robot was there, so whenever you are looking at the artificial robot, let us see what is the work that has been done already. So your aim is artificial robot for food processing, means it is going to generate food automatically. So that is artificial, that is your aim. But now we have to see in a different perspectives artificial robot, for what purposes they have been done up to now, and then you have to highlight in one paragraph. So by looking at the above mentioned studies, we are extending this property to the food processing. So that way you should give in a one mini, like here they mentioned, right? Summarize to conclude this mini, like in the literature review, after writing all the like in the references and the article like literature survey, like whatever the article that you collected about that you have mentioned there, at the end in one paragraph you need to highlight your work. So you have to mention clearly these things in literature review. And let us see the plan of research. So if you look at the plan of research, so initially there are some people, they may be working with the experimental design. They may need some kind of design they make in an experimental setup, how they are going to do. And theoretical studies, they'll be giving the theoretical models, and then they'll be presenting in some graphical representations. So that also you need to give in the plan of research. And then suppose if you are taking experimental setup, just write experimental setup that you are going to consider. Sometimes you may be looking at the theoretical study, if you have that idea like how it is going to look like, so that you can present in like in the recently I think some symposium, they were asking us extended abstract, right? Whenever they ask extended abstract, we have to make the general abstract, whatever the conclusion that we made, with respect to that we have to give the how you are going to imagine the model that you modeled. So that you have to represent in terms of some kind of graphs, like not graphs, like we can say like some kind of image. So if you are able to make, if you are able to provide, that will be worthy. And the next step is we need to select the different possible, like what I said here, like when you say artificial robot for the food processing. So before this, related to artificial robot in a different perspective, like hand movement, leg movement, or like different purposes already, whatever done. That cases you have to mention here, and you can highlight your words. And also, if you need some kind of settings, if you have done that, also need to make you need to include here the plan of research. And what are the data collection procedures and instruments that you used, that also you have to keep in the plan of research. Once you have done the data collection, next step is we need to analyze the data. So that is data analysis, and then after analyzing the data, you need to outline the descriptions. What is what with respect to this result, what is happening with respect to other parameter, what is happening. So that way you need to plan your scientific reports. And even here we are mentioning the presentation data, right? Presentation of data analysis. So data analysis has many ways to present. Here there are some ways they are discussing here. So here in the interpretation, mostly we will describe about the whatever the data, and we highlight this results, right? Sir, I think disturbance is clear. Yeah, fine. So now, so in the plan of research, we have the data analysis. So about data now, because wherever if you see, doing the experiment is one task. After doing the experiment, presenting our result in effective way, that is main important task, because other person has to understand our work is worthy. Then only the possibility of acceptance of our article is very high, right? Otherwise, they will be reject. They will reject. Even if we done very good work, if we are not able to make proper conclusions and proper reasons, then automatically the work that we have done is waste only. So that's why presentation of data analysis. So this part is very important. So in that, interpretation and discussion of data means findings, whatever we have done, that you have to mention. So those things anyway you are going to mention in conclusions part also. Like this is conclusion part is the last part. In the conclusion, what we will see mostly a summary of the report, like whatever we consider that you are going to mention, and if you know the limitations of the work that we have done, we can also present the limitations. And if you are able to identify the future needs of your work, then it is very like high possibility, because the article have more worthy, because most of the time we will not see these two comments. If you see the research article whatever the published, very rarely some of the articles will have the limitations of their study, because in the recent days they are they are asking these two things: what is the limitations of your study, and what are the future needs of your study. So most of the time, up to now, previously what they used to do, they used to summarize the report and then they used to give in the conclusions. Now the trend is changed. So until if you want to get in good articles or good impact factor journals, we have to give the limitations of our study and what are the future needs of the work that we have done. So if you are able to make these two, then your article will be worthy. More worthy, not worthy, more worthy. So this is general research report writing. So even whenever you are writing the projects also, we used to do these things importantly, mainly, right? So next, if you see here, layout and language of the report. So here, layout, different journals have different layouts actually. And even if you see, different universities have different layout structure of the thesis format also. So that's where you can see in the online thesis format from some different universities, IITs or NITs, whatever the university that they have their own. So each university has their own formats, and they made their own. So you need to download that particular formats and structures, and you need to arrange accordingly. Now let us see what is generally, because whenever we look at the exam point of view, you need to write something about that, right? Layout and structure and language of the report. I mean general format of the research report. So a written format of research work is known as thesis or a research report. Means thesis in the sense it's a kind of one book, right? So we are going to write everything and then we are make some combined article in a one thesis or research report. So all such work may differ considerably in scope of treatment and details of presentation. Even then, all types of research reports are expected to follow general, uniform, common pattern of format, style of research reports are expected to style and structures. So common general format and common patterns and style in the sense they may be having different Times New Roman, Arial, black. So there may be different font styles are there. So they'll be giving all those instructions in the thesis formats. So you need to follow that. So the general format of research report is evolved and it has become the tradition in academic area. Now today if you see, it has become very popular now because everyone, even from BTech level, they are doing the thesis now. So everyone is writing the research report, project reports, everything. So it become now common. And if you see here, a comprehensive layout of the research report should comprise preliminary pages, the main text, and the end matter. Like how you are going to see in the book, the same things should be there in the thesis and research reports. That is, here they have mentioned preliminaries, text body, and references. So initially, whenever if you see any book, so we are going to have preliminaries initially, right? And then what are the chapters that you have mentioned? That chapters will be there. The content in the particular page, so and so page, and references that you have used. So all these things will be available in this format. So on preliminary section, anyway, we already know there we are going to give some title, acknowledgement, certificate page, and table of content. This is very important. When you are writing the thesis, these things are very important. Any whatever the thesis that you are writing, whatever the department. So these are common actually. So preliminary pages, in that it will be there like title of the reports and acknowledgements and certificate page. So it will start with the certificate page. I think after that you may be having the acknowledgement and then title of the reports that we have in our chapters or in our thesis, and table of contents. Table of contents will be like completely you need to give the information. Like suppose I'm having the 5 chapters, chapter 1. So I'll be giving here, and what first page you'll give you serial number, chapter 1. Here you'll be having a chapter title. What is title of let us take CFD, and then which page it is started. So you have to give the page numbers also. So this way you are going to give clear picture in the preliminary section. So that's the same thing we have given here. Title page, name of the, because in the dissertation these are common, right? So I think if you read, I think you can get to know title page and preference for acknowledgement. Acknowledgement B will be like you are going to thank. Suppose there are someone university from some other university, they have helped for your research work. So you can mention there. So a person has been helped for my research. Thanks. Personally, I thanks. So you can write all the acknowledgements here in the acknowledgement section. And table of contents. In the table of contents only, we will be giving, suppose you have used some kind of figures in each chapter. So those figures we need to give in the table of content only, like table 1, which page it is available. So all the details will be available in the table of contents. The initial itself we need to make. Any doubts? Yeah. So even suppose if you are having some kind of figures, the figures also you have to give here figure 1 from chapter 1. Suppose let us see whenever you are giving the table of contents, So most preferably, when you are writing the article, what we will do, so you may be having 3 chapters, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. So now when you are sending the article, when you are sending the manuscript for the journals, what we will do, we will be keeping 1, 2, 3 equation number in the chapter 1, and chapter 2 also we will be giving same 1, 2, 3, right? The chapter 3 also we will give 1, 2, 3. But whenever we are writing the thesis report, because we are all merging these 3 chapters, right? So whenever you are merging all 3 chapters, you always need to start with the first chapter means 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. That way you need to give. Suppose if you are writing from here, right, first chapter. So you need to start from the 1.1 equation number, 1.2 equation number, 1.3, and so on. The same way, figures also we need to start from the, not from 1.1, 1.2 figure, 1.3, and so on. And tables also. Tables 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, and so on. How many tables are there in the chapter 1? So once you're done with, next chapter 2. The chapter 2, what we have to start from the 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, if it is like equation numbers. If suppose if you have any figures also you have to start from the 2.1, 2.2, 2.3. And tables also, tables 2.1 to 2.3. So that way you need to give in the table of contents. And when you are making the thesis also, you need to thorough with these things. Then like list of figures, all the things you need to provide there. And in the main body, so again it is going to differ from the department to department, and the research work to research work, because those who are working in the theoretically, they may have a different format, and those who are working in a experimentally, they will be having in a different formats. So in the main body, whatever the work that you are going to do, that you are going to provide, right? In the chapter 1, when you start with the main body, so what you have to do in the chapter 1 when you started. So what usually we do, so here we give the introduction, means why this particular chapter we started, what is the drawback. So those things you are going to mention here, chapter 1. So the chapter 1, this also you need to start with 1.1 only, like 1.1, 1.2, like that way. So now if it is chapter 1, if it is chapter 2, 2.1, 2.2, and so on. So you are going to mention in the introduction briefly the things whatever we have done in the previous, the same thing, assumptions, hypothesis, what are the things that you have done, what is the extension that you made. So those things you will be providing here, and literature review also we are going to provide with the references already, the work whatever is done, that also we are going to provide there. And sometimes some people may be having a design and methodology. Methodology, I think almost everyone have, but those who are working in a theoretical, they will be having a theoretically. If you have an experimental setup, you can give the experimental setup also, like image format. You can draw the things and then you can provide the methodology section. And those who are working in a like simulation kind, like they will be having some kind of algorithm also. They can provide here algorithms, and what are the code, source code if they want to provide, they can provide the code also in the methodology section. And once you are done with whatever the data that you collected, that you need to interpret the data. That is result and discussion part. Results and discussion part. And at the end, the same like conclusions. Conclusions also we'll be having. So this is the common research report or thesis, right? We will call it as thesis or research report. So if they ask you explain about this, you have to write up all these things. You can write it on your own. No need to follow everything. But if you have 4 points, you can remember minimum 2 points. Because when you're writing, as we know, if you study 4 points, I think you can't remember all 4 points. You may be missing something. Whatever easy point that you can remember, that you can provide in the examination. So now, after conclusions, next bibliography section, reference section. And the reference section, I think here you need to make clear, like books will have some different format, and monographs will have some different formats. Reports will have different formats, journals will have different formats, articles will have different unpublished work different formats, and thesis also have different formats. So all these things you need to provide in the reference section, the format that they have. And I will show you the different formats, how it will be available in the online. Like different journals will have different formats, bibliographies formats. And different university thesis also will have different format. Like see, here we have given some kind of article, right? I think I can show you if I have time. Okay, fine. If you have, suppose, let us take, I am writing just simply an article. So let's see, there is author name, some Ivan, U-E-N, Ivan, is the, yes, Ivan. So his scientist name. He has been written a book as Foundation of Fluid Mechanics, and publisher is Tata McGraw-Hill, publisher Tata McGraw-Hill edition, and some 2000, some 1998. So this is the year of publication. So some journals, what they will do, the same structure of this reference, we need to give in a different version. Like initially you need to give the name, you want dot or sometimes comma also. Some journals will have comma s dot, then comma this title of this particular, and sometimes year also. First initially year and then title and then publisher name. So that way also we'll be having. So different journals will have and different university thesis will have different bibliography formats. You need to check before writing, because once you have written completely, again changing is very difficult because it's not one. When you look at the thesis, minimum you may be having 100 references. Minimum this is for a thesis, not for an article. So that means, so if you have done something mistake here, you are going to follow same for the all 100 articles. So that's why whenever you start writing, you are arranging the formats, be careful and be thorough with the things. What is the exact format that is available for the particular university, and then make accordingly. Then it is easy for you to make, and easy work also whenever if you are able to make. And if you have like some nowadays they are using, right, different software they are using, like LaTeX. Yes, madam. Madam, any doubt? Hello? No? Yeah. So different like different universities and different journals will have the different bibliography formats. So you need to care when you start writing the your thesis. And appendices, like here, what you will do is, like sometimes what happen in mathematically we prefer this actually. So what we will do is, nowadays plagiarism was there, right? So in the plagiarism, what we will do, like what are the parameters that you are going to use? Suppose you may be having some R1 is equal to some KNF by some KF is there. So again here KF is something we are defining. Some KF is equal to some mu CP by rho. So that way if you have, so all these things you need to mention in the appendices. Means whatever the things that you have mentioned there, substitution values, whatever the parameters that you used, all these things you can mention in the appendices or appendix. So here, and this is last index. I think most English people they may have. I think we will use very less. I think notations, what are the symbols that we have, so that we are going to give a common way. Like suppose I may be using mu as viscosity. So if I use it everywhere, the whole chapter, we can give as a common. And in the same way, like some kind of other parameters like nu, dynamic viscosity. So this is common in the entire whole all chapters. So what are the common terms that we have, that you can mention in the parameters here. These are parameters. So that you can mention in the index part. So that is that is about the research report and thesis. And we will be having different types of reports. I think types of report is not there in our syllabus, I think, as per my knowledge. If you see, okay, let us see types of reports also. What kind of types? So types of reports in a sense. See, these types of reports, report writing will vary from the particular cause, right? Depends on the cause, the report will vary, and you are going to write, suppose if you are a mathematical person, he is going to use more mathematical equations. If the person is looking at the financial things, he will be having some kind of tables more. So that's where we are dividing here. That's what not only will be there. If you read here, for instance, business firms are prefer reports in the letter form, just 1 or 2 pages in the length. So whatever the business people and whatever the organizations are there, they will be prefer reports in a just simply 2 pages format. But if you look at the banks or insurance or financial institutions are generally fond of the short balance sheet type of tabulation for their annual report of their customers and shareholders. So if you see, if you look at the bank, so they will be having some kind of tables, the report, right? Reports. So this is also one kind of report, right? And if you look at the mathematicians, they have mentioned that mathematicians always they'll be giving in terms of algebraic notations, plus or minus. That way you'll be having equations, right? So that is one type of report. So chemist reports their results in the symbols and formulas. So they will be also using more symbols and formulas. So these are there are various formats that are available already. Just see here. Students of literature usually write long reports presenting the critical analysis of some writer or period, or like with the liberal use of the quotation from the works of the author under discussions. So in literature, those who are working on literature department, what they will do, they will be always writing about some kind of author, some kind of like famous poetry persons. So about them, they will be writing more and more, and then they will be writing the reports. So that is another type of report writing. And if you look at in the field of education and psychology, the favorite form is the report on the results of experimentation accompanied by the detailed statistical tabulation. So if you look at education department or psychology, what they will do most of the time, they will be sending some kind of Google forms, and then they will be collecting the data. So after collecting the data, they will be do some kind of statistical analysis in terms of tabular form. So their report is in terms of tabular forms, or some kind of analysis. They will be statistical models they will be doing there. And clinical psychologists and social pathologists frequently find it necessary to make use of the case history form. Means they will look at the previous whatever happened in the previous issues, and then so that they can plan accordingly whatever the same issue comes now, so he can approach easily, right? That way their reports will be. So in the same way, we have different formats here if you see. So that is types of reports. I hope it is clear now. And let us see some kind of technical report writing also. Technical reports are, yeah. So the technical report is nothing but like in the technical, mainly, you know, because what do you say, like those who are working main like technical in the sense some kind of simulation, if you are using some kind of methodology that you are using, so you can present in an effective way. So that they used to call it as technical report. So because if you see here in the technical report, the main emphasis is on the methodology that you applied, and assumptions made in the course of the study. See, this is very important part when we are doing the research, because most of the time we will not observe this thing. Most of the time we will not going to provide these assumptions. So simply they will write what they have been considered, but why they have neglected, that they will not going to mention. Why that particular effect you are neglecting. So that also you need to mention. If you mention, so it will be worthy. Like if even the layman can see the article and then he can understand well. So that whenever see the person, those who are doing the newly the research, so they will look at your article, and this makes us improve our citations actually. So if you start providing assumptions of your study, definitely you are going to have more views, and that is we call it as citation section. And the detailed presentation of findings, including their limitations and supporting data. And this also nowadays even journals are asking. Most of the time previously they never used to keep. So what they are trying nowadays, what they are doing, even editor itself is asking what are the limitations of your work and what is the supporting data that for that limitation. So that also we need to give nowadays. In the olden days, they never used to give these things, and then even though that are going to be accepted, but now the technology has been improved here now, so they know most of the time there are some researchers they are managing the things, and then we are doing the things. So that's why they should ask the what are the limitations and what are supporting data for that particular data. And here, like see, this also some kind of general outline of the technical report. Like if you see summary of results and nature of study. So in the nature of study, what you used to do, like you need to give the objectives and formulation of the problem and working hypothesis and analysis and data required. So this is generally technical report contains, right? The summary means you just brief the things in a 2 to 3 pages. And nature of the study means what kind of nature you have been done and what kind of circumstances you are considering this particular problem, and then you are analyzing the result and discussion, like formulating the things and formulating the hypothesis and collecting the data and simulating the data, and after getting the data we need to analyze the data. So those things will be nature of study. Whatever the problem that we are considering related to that, we need to do the analysis. Next. And methods, anyway we are going to provide that, right? In the methodology have been already we discussed the specific method and their limitations also we need to provide. And data anyway, yeah, those most of the time people use it to work on either experimental or theoretically. They will be getting the huge data. After collecting the data, they will be giving the characteristics of that particular data by analyzing, by giving some kind of statistical analysis. And if you have some kind of secondary data, you need to provide suitable reference for the particular problem. And if you are able to make some kind of like what you call validation, so that the work also will become worthy now. And analysis of data and presentation of findings. So this is common thing that we already discussed in the thesis part. And here also you'll be providing the analysis and presentation of results. Means I said many times, like whenever we are writing the results, like just simply as increasing this is increased, as increasing this increased. Instead of that, it is increased. For what reason it is increased? If suppose if you change in other direction, what will happen? If you are able to provide all this kind of results, then it will be very perfect. And conclusions anyway, you'll be giving the summary of the findings. And most of the time we see conclusion section and abstract section they used to keep same, but abstract section is different and conclusion section is different. Both are having their own importance. So here some kind of what you call, you can also provide what kind of limits in the conclusions, what are the applications of your work and what others can be extended. So that also if you are able to provide in the conclusion section, it will become worth it. And bibliography that are there in terms of references and technical appendices, like we already discussed right in the thesis part. The same thing again will come here. Like see, this is popular report. He is mentioning like popular report. What is meant by popular report? Like nothing. It should be like simplicity. It should attract the more. Like some people, if you see the article, they may not done much work, but look simple, but they may be attractive. Like the results may be very attractive and it follows that present trend. So that in that cases, editor also will feel the work is very good, so that he is going to send for the review, and then there is a possibility of acceptance early. So if see always, if whenever we have the simplicity in the problem, and if you are able to provide in a simplicity and attractive way our article, that will be very good. Even the editor also feel good, and then he is going to send, because it looks simple, but it has more the content is available when you go in depth. So that way, if you are able to provide, that is called as a popular report. So the simplification should be start through clean writing, minimization of technical, particularly mathematical, details, and liberal use of the charts and diagrams. So what happened, most of the time we'll be providing the data in terms of tables. But better if you are able to make these tables into some kind of charts or graphs, because the editor by looking at this table he can't understand in a very fast, because see, editor is going to see in a day I think more than 1,000 articles, right? He can't see the completeness completely. So what we can, if you are able to provide completely like it's kind of diagrams and more diagrams and charts, what will happen? So editor initially he will see, okay, some kind of new thing is there. So he is going to send for the review. Whenever the reviewer will give the comments, so based on that, then he will decide. Because initial stage attraction is also important, right? To send the review. Sending review also an important, because editor has to send to review particular reviews for reviews. If he is not sending the review itself, then that again difficult for us to maintain it, because initial stage only papers are rejecting. So you'll be getting upset after some time. And then now attractive layout along with the large print, many subheadings, and even an occasional cartoon now. And then another characteristic feature of the popular report. So here, if you have headings, large print, I think this is not main matter, but if you provide attractive layouts, that will be beneficial. Like usually, instead of usual ways how the people are writing, you can give different ways of writing. Like if you see, sometimes what we'll do, we see like most of the time we see there is a section called result and discussions. So people used to put some commonly this name. So what you can put, like instead of this one, you can put other way, like interpretation of data, interpretation of experimentally collected data. So that way, because in nowadays, plagiarism also there. If you write as it is, it will become no plagiarism. So you need to write in a different perspective, different ways, right? So that way, you can give in a different types of, you can attract in a different ways of layouts, like if you by giving the different ways. And the findings, their implementation. This anyway, this plays an important role already we discussed. Recommendation for actions. Suppose sometimes what happen, some journals will ask you only write 4 points, highlights of your work. So this also we need to upload sometimes. Some journals will ask this. So here what you have to do, you have to write whatever the effects that you have. And here one more thing is we will be having limitation. Maximum you have to use 200 words. You should not use more words. Okay, this kind of and again in this we will be having some kind of like 50 words only, 50 not words, 50 letters. So 50 letters in each line. So whenever we have this kind of constraints, how you are going to make the conclusions, highlights of your work, that also become very important task now, because the work that we are able to provide the completely results, so and so parameter affected, dissected, rejected, improved. So all these parameters will be given. But now from those results, you need to select the proper result, like mainly either 2 or 3. Those things you need to provide here, because editor has to track for that. So because in these cases, what you will see only the highlights of your work that you have mentioned there. Based on that, he is going to decide. So the recommendation for the actions, what recommendation is to do, whether acceptance, that way we can highlight that. And objective of the study. Objective of the study, like as we already know, most of the time is we are discussing a general review of the how the problem has come and how the you have to present in a specific objectives under some assumption. If you have assumption and some under some study, like if you say under particular certain conditions it is going to work, under certain condition it is not going to get. So that all the properties if you are able to provide, so that is also it will become good. Like it should be like popular report. It will become popular report. And also methods employed. So methodology also. Sometimes generally people will keep like generally algorithm start the button, right? Like if you are writing some kind of algorithm code. So if you are able to kind in a different perspective, like this kind of charts, so it will be look different. So generally people will provide, they will be writing let methodology step one, start XY in the algorithm. If you are writing algorithm, just I'm mentioning here. So instead of that, what you can do, like experimentation, if you are doing, started experiment and then collected the data and mixed with some materials. So if you different ways, if you are able to project methodology also, that also looks good, and then possibility is very high to send for the review. And results again, you have to give from where and what kind of direction. If suppose if it is increasing with respect to some parameter, and why it is increasing, and what certain conditions, what will happen if you change. So that also, if you are able to provide in the results, that is also good popular. And technical appendices. So technical appendices you need to provide properly, otherwise the article will become wrong, because they are going to, whenever others are going to extend, they will be looking at that only, right? And then they will extend. If you are able to provide wrong, then there is very less possibility of extending our work, because see, most of the time we are doing the work. So generally what we will do is, we will not concentrate on someone should extend our work. But we need get some kind of articles to get the PhD. So after getting PhD, ourselves we need to get satisfaction that whether our work is worthy or not, how you are going to identify. So until unless if others are going to use, we can't say that our work is worthy, right? Even though we have done some kind of work. So that some others has to cite means you need to give proper technical things also perfectly and correctly. So that possibility of review, like citations also will increase. And this is general PhD thesis report. So we already discussed like journal paper, conference paper. Most of the time, people have journal article and conference papers and periodicals and thesis, research report, monographs. So all these kind of things will be there in a PhD thesis report, because whenever we want to submit, I think different universities have different norms. So they'll be having some kind of one conference. Some universities will have must and should you need to publish in one conference proceedings and one impact factor journals. That way they'll be having different kind of, right. So what happen, whenever you're writing the conference or these things, you need to provide these things also in the thesis report properly. Because most of the time, whatever the conference ideas we are getting, that they are not publishing is fine. If they publish that particular symposium, so we have to provide the ideas from where we are copying. So that is how PhD thesis is a report of the entire work done by the researcher to a university or institution for the award of doctoral degree. The central element of PhD education is doctoral thesis. That is the PhD thesis. So now it is an apprenticeship in how to do research and forms the unique part of PhD degree course. And this PhD dissertation is a lengthy, and it should be original, and it should contain some documents, and it's also should contain the original contributions, because each student has his own contributions, right? So it will be original now. And the role of PhD dissertation is to demonstrate the research person's original thinking and contribution to the topic of that particular area that you have been selected. And it's also clear point out that the research competence of the researcher in his research field. So whatever the research area that you selected and we have done, so it will clearly tell us how much you are working for the particular area that you are working. What is the impact of your work with that particular research field? So that also we will come to know. And for preparing the PhD thesis report, one should not simply copy word by word from his research articles, even if the content of the thesis work is reported in his research publication. So the student should reword the material without changing the meaning of that particular properties, whatever you consider. See, most of the time what we will do is here, suppose like I have done for my thesis, minimum I need some five articles. So now what will happen? I maybe all five articles are published in a journals. What I will do is I'm just going to just copy paste from the same as it is from the articles that usually we do. In most of the time people will do. Even we also do the same. But if you want to make effective way, if you are able to make rewording that particular words, whatever you have used. And because nowadays the things have been changed due to plagiarism, the quality of the work also is decreasing now. If you see, I think most of the time we can't see because they may be doing the good work, but due to plagiarism, because plagiarism is a software that has been not built properly. Because suppose if you are belongs to a field of some kind of chemistry, see, the chemical names are common. If the person, me or others use also, that chemical names are common for entire whoever in the universe. But how they are going to change that in chemical names? So in that cases, what they have to do is, if suppose, so if anyone from the computer science, they can take it as a project. This one. See, if you have a plagiarism software, when you are uploading the plagiarism report, so it has options like whether you belongs to chemistry, whether you belongs to mathematics, whether you belongs to physics. So when you are selecting that particular domain, suppose if you select chemistry, so whatever the related words, already default words will be there. So those things should not take it up, this particular plagiarism software. So then it will become worthy because when whatever the way that we are seeing nowadays, they're just remodifying the things. They are not looking at the broader way. Whoever are making these plagiarism softwares. So that obviously the quality will decrease. Nowadays, people are just for the sake of decrease, we are doing the things. And wherever possible, result should be presented in the form of figures and illustrations and graph. Because most preferably, instead of tables, try to provide more figures in our articles because figures only will attract the editor and he can understand well also. And all figures should be clearly specify the variables of the axis units used in other information necessary. Like sometimes we'll be having some kind of units in x-axis. I am taking some material, so millimeter. So in the other direction, some water. What is the how much content that you are using? So those things, if you are able to provide in terms of units also, it will get clarity. So again, you don't need to look at the other ways. Like you have to see complete article. Otherwise, where you have been mentioned that about this particular graph. So instead of that, you can provide here within a bracket meters and you can analyze by seeing this graph. So it is with respect to this, it is increasing. So that way you can understand well and then this possibility is also good for acceptance. So, and nowadays many softwares are available already, as we know already, right? For the curve fitting. So what are the curve fitting? See, curve fitting will play an important role for the data. So whenever we have the data, different data will be, curve fitting is going to give complete data. Let's see, suppose what happened, I may be having the data of linear data completely, let us suppose. So now, by seeing this linear data, that same data, if you are able to, suppose, if you are able to convert into non-linear data, what kind of what is going to happen? That also we can analyze in the curve. That's what the beauty of curve. So that's where any doubts are. So that's where in recent days, if you see most of the time, they will be looking at the training. So if they want to train their data, so they have to use either linear fitting or curve fitting or regression. So by looking at these models, depends on the model that they have considered. So they have to select that particular fitting and then they have to plot the data. So if you use this curve fitting tools, it is easy for you to explain and then give the proper reasons about your work and the existing work. So this is about the and that's all. So anyway, you're going to see the grammar, checkers, types of papers, printers, binding. So this under come. These are some common questions. Any queries, madam?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, madam.
Sir, what is the meaning of documentation in the context of research report? So for that, what do we write, sir? Documentation.
Documentation
in the context of research report.
Yeah, that's what we are mentioning here, madam.
Okay.
Documentation in terms of research report means whenever documented is nothing but research articles. The research article, how you are going to write the report, like report.
Okay. Okay.
That's what we have discussed here, madam.
Okay. Sir, that means that layout of the research report that you told us, sir, the same thing do we write, sir, for documentation?
Yes, madam. No need to write this technical. If you are giving more, it is fine. But technical report, no need to give. Just documentation means how you are going to document your article. So that in the initial stage, today first starting we have started, right? Yeah, this continue. Yeah.
That slide, can you show it, sir?
This one, madam. Oh, you know, I think started from before only. Yeah.
This one, no, sir? This one.
Yeah, you can write this one. Okay. General format. Documented.
Okay, okay, sir.
Hello, sir.
Yes, madam.
Sir, will we be allowed to bring a calculator in exam? Use a calculator because mean, median, mode. You showed some problems. Taught us some problems.
Madam, about exam pattern, I do not clear, madam, because
okay,
this
sir.
is first time conducting also classes, and we don't know how the exam will be conducted still.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Okay.
Out mode. So they will be allowed, but not a problem. Calculators they may allow maximum 90% they will allow because nowadays what happens, scientific calculators are there, madam. So in the scientific, whatever the recent calculator, you can store the data also nowadays. So that's why sometimes they may disagree, but other than that, I think they may allow.
Okay, sir.
Because all those data, whatever if you want to implement formulas also, you can store there. So that option is available in recent calculators.
Hello, sir.
One class, what I will do, I will just show the different articles and formats in the next class. So from that, I will stop the research methodology. I think it will end the complete all topics. Any doubts, madam? Still someone is.
Yes, sir. Sir, I just wanted to know about how relevant is R programming in this data analysis? Because some of the papers that I am looking at in my field, they are all mentioning R programming. So do you think that should be learned by us?
R programming, ma'am, you are from department? Chemistry?
Yeah, physics, sir, physics.
So either physics or chemistry, maybe working as some synthesis, right?
Yes, sir. Some data collection may be there.
Some synthesis you are working, right? Synthesis of some nanoparticle or something. So whenever we are working, you are working on this. So R programming and all, see in the Excel and whatever you are doing right now, like I think most of them you are using Origin, right? I think up to now they may be using Origin because this is user friendly.
Yes, sir.
And we will be getting some kind of two-dimensional plot, I think, right? Maximum.
Yes, sir.
But so now, if you want to present in a different perspective, we need to look at ultimately you need to look at the different softwares. That is either the results whatever you got, instead of providing general x-axis and y-axis, you can also look at the surface point of view. If you provide this data in a three-dimensional way, how this look like? I think you heard about response surface method, madam.
Right. Yeah. Yes, sir.
If you apply this method, any software it is good, not a problem. Even SPSS, I feel SPSS also good, and R programming. If you know the programming, go for R programming, madam. Otherwise, you can go SPSS by using response surface method. Means whatever you are getting the data, that will be given in terms of surface. Surface looks better than the general graphs, x-axis and y-axis.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
What I feel, because even if you see in the recently some Royal Society journals, RSC, I think, right? Royal Society of Chemistry. So in the RSC or ACS, if you want to publish, so most preferably you need to provide the data in a different perspective, right? Because we were doing the same work, but the presentation skills are important. So if you are able to provide in a different methods and different ways, then definitely there will be acceptance in these two journals is high. As we know, I think most of the time you know already, right? What is meant by RSA and what is meant by ACS better than me, because I am from the mathematics background. I may not aware much of this.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay, madam. Okay, madam. Any other? Coursework exam not yet given, madam. Dates you will be receiving, I think so. And this is already there, madam. PDF already I mentioned, I think, right? Material is already available with you only. Any other doubts, madam?
No, sir. Thank you, sir.
No doubts, madam. If you are not having any doubts, we can stop this. And next class, what I will do is I will just show different like hands-on, madam. I'll be opening different journals. I will go there and then I will show you. This is the format how you have to make when you are looking, when you are having first time you are looking, right? Because you need to make in a different article formats.
Yes, sir.
So that I will do like
Sir, is there any,
yes, madam.
sir, excuse me, sir. Sorry for
Yes, madam.
interruption. Sir, is there
Yes,
any proper, I mean, number of any like publications we should do, sir? Is there any?
Condition in where, madam? In Geetama?
Yes, sir. Like before submitting our thesis, we should be how many publications we should do, sir?
Minimum 2, I think, madam. 2, that
Minimum
2, I
2,
think.
sir. Okay.
Scopus and text, I think so, as per my knowledge.
Oh, okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
It will other higher different departments have different, madam, conditions that you have to see their department level.
Oh.
Again.
Sir, will we have
Oh,
class
okay, sir.
next week or next week? Because next week is 1st May. Will we have class on 1st May or next to next week?
Okay, madam. Next to next, I think that is also fine.
Oh, okay, sir.
Because anyway, we need to take up by May 2nd week, last class.
Okay, sir.
Okay, May 1st. So May 1st is already, right? Okay. Any other, madam? Anyway, I'm ending the session now because I have other meeting actually.
Okay, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, madam. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.